All right. Well, welcome everyone. Welcome to Kel. Welcome to Nachi. Welcome to Graham, though you're also part of this. This is the second Mudstack Q&A that we've had. The first one was a couple of weeks ago, and this is a new one in honor of the new phase that we're in. Joseph, what phase are we in exactly? Could you remind me?
We have entered phase 1 for the desktop beta launch, and we'll be going into phase 2 in mid-May.
Awesome. And what can we expect in the next phase?
Yep. So the big thing that we're going to see in the next phase is going to be all of the local workflows. So you'll be able to add directories to from your local drives into Mudstack. You can search against your local files, and you'll be able to upload content from your those directories into the cloud.
Right. Do you know what the approximate timeline will be until our next update?
So where we have it currently sitting is right around mid-May, around May 16th.
All right. Well, just so that everyone who's tuning in knows, the way that we usually do this is we start out with that little welcome. We update everyone on where we're at. And then we like to pull questions in from our Ask Mudstack channel. So again, if you're tuning in right now and you want to add a question, but you don't want to unmute yourself, feel free to stick it in Ask Mudstack and we'll make sure to get to it. So should we delve right in, Joseph?
Go for it.
All right. So I'll probably be doing the asking of the questions, and then Joseph will be answering most of them because Joseph has a lot of the historical knowledge. So question number 1 for this round is, in Mudstack, is it possible to add subfolders inside of libraries?
Yep, so not currently, but it is something that we'll be adding to our functionality later. It's something that's actually currently in our feature request as well. So if anybody else wants to upvote that specific feature, they can.
Right, okay. And how do they upvote a feature?
Yep, so if they go to our website, feedback.mudstack.com, that will send them over to our feedback requests website where you can create new feature requests, look at our change logs, see other feature requests, and upvote or comment on anything else over there.
Awesome. Okay. So some people have been taking a look at our roadmap. Can you remind us where we find the roadmap? Is it also on the website?
Yes, so there's going to be 2 places for the roadmap for right now because we're going through the desktop beta. One is going to be on the mudstack.com site. When you click the desktop beta link, you'll see, if you scroll down, you'll see some phases available to view for each of the different phases that are coming out and the features that will be in them, as well as some of the additional tickets that are considered planned or in progress in the feedback.mudstack.com site.
Awesome. Okay. So a couple of these questions are being pulled from people who have been taking a look at the roadmap. And one person in particular said that they saw on the roadmap that we're planning several integrations for management tools like Trello or Jira. They were wondering what other tools might be included, whether or not Hack and Plan is included, or if there are other things that we should keep an eye out for.
Yep. So we're influenced by the community in terms of integration. So if you want a specific integration like Hack and Plan, if you drop that in the feature request and we get enough votes for it, we'll make sure to prioritize that over some of the other ones that we're thinking about as well. That's at that same spot at feedback.mudstack.com.
All right, feedback.mudstack.com, that seems to be the place for all of this. Now, going back to the product itself, we have another comment asking about whether or not it's possible to host a repository of assets locally rather than in the cloud, or if it's only cloud accessible right now.
Yep. So technically, that is doable if you had a network or a network-assisted storage set up. So just like it's mounted on your computer, if you have like that Z drive mounted on your computer, you can look at it from a directory perspective with phase 2 when it comes out. You'd get the asset management part of it, but you wouldn't get all of the collaboration and review tools that you would have if it was on the cloud. That being said, we do have a lot of requests for on-premises hosting. So It's something we're strongly considering, and it's actually a feature back on the feedback place. So we don't have a date on that yet. We're still going through some early R&D on how we want to tackle something like that.
Okay, great. I'm going to ask a couple more questions that are specific to our product. Things that might be interesting to people, but might not be apparent right away. The first question is it possible to show all favorites while using Mudstack?
Yes, so the favorites, we are able to see favorites directly inside of our platform. I believe if that's not a filter yet, it definitely will be.
Cool. Okay, great. And then do we support GIFs or GIFs? I can never tell how to say that.
I mean, you could say it either way, but GIFs is the right way.
Okay.
Yeah, yes, we do. We do support GIFs in our platform, so you are able to upload those and view those inside of our platform.
Are we currently able to add tasks from the library and asset view on our desktop? Or are we not able to do that right now?
Oh, sorry. Can you repeat that one more time? I'm sorry.
Absolutely. Yeah, sorry. I'm going a bit off script right now and pulling in a couple of additional questions from Ask Mudstack. Mm-hmm. And one of the questions is it possible to add tasks from our library and asset view on the desktop, or is that not possible right now?
Add tasks for our library and desktop view? So that's actually something we've been talking about internally. More of like a task management, an internal task management system in the Mudstack app itself. We're still very early stages of it, but it's something that we want to try and work into our desktop beta. And if we can, you'll see a launch out of it, but it'll be very early stages. So we'll constantly be building on that functionality after it gets launched.
Great. Is there a way currently to download a lot of files at once without each of them being in their own folder?
Yes. So currently, the way that downloads work, it's based off a zip structure. So if you select a lot of files, and you'll see a modal pop up that has two different options that you can checkbox. If you don't checkbox those items and just zip up the file, or zip up those selected assets, it will come in as a flat structure, so no folders in them. What those checkboxes do is add those folders inside of that zip. What will happen later, post this phase and into phase 2 and subsequent phases, the download structure will look identical to how the Mudstack or the cloud structure is. So for right now, it would be flat. In phase 2, but when we bring in folder directories later on with the cloud, that same folder directory structure will appear identical whenever you download those specific files.
Okay, all right. So the final prepared question we have, I'm going to say now, but then afterwards I actually have a couple of other questions that have popped up since that I would love to ask you. Does that work for you?
Go for it.
Awesome. So the final thing that we keep hearing from a number of our users is that our login process is buggy.
Yep.
Is this true?
Yeah, this is definitely true. We know that there's some struggles with login, especially on the Google sign-in side. So a few other things that we've seen reports of is struggling to copy and paste their login information if they're using something like LastPass. Sending that information over. So we're actively working on fixing it. There's a few different parts to that we'll be fixing through these next few phases. One of them around making sure that if you're doing Google sign-in, you're able to sign in with different accounts. That's one of the primary concerns that a few users have right now. So that's one of the first things that we'll be focusing on.
Great. All right, that sounds great. By the way, I'm going to quickly give a shout out to, it looks like we've got Kel and Indy Respawn jumping in. So hi, you two. It's nice to see you. You might be muted right now, but I'm going to quickly unmute you so that you can say hi if you would like. Unless I can't, in which case. There we go. Hey, you two. There we go. Hi. All right, I'll move ahead for now. So we have a couple of additional questions from Ask Mudstack that I would love to ask you, Joseph.
Hello, sorry, I was in push to talk. My bad.
Oh,
I'm
no
so sorry.
worries. The classic Discord, yeah.
Hey,
Hi.
it's nice to hear from you.
Thank you.
We're just answering questions right now, and we're actually about to open it up to the audience. But right now, we're starting out with like introductions, and I'm reading through some questions in Ask Mudstack. Can you remind us your name? I know you introduced yourself. I'm just trying to remember like your non-server name.
Yeah, my name's Anthony. I'm a 3D artist or 3D generalist.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, Anthony. I'm Lila.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. It's great to have you here. I want to hear all your feedback and thoughts.
Yeah.
Cool. I'll just quickly jump through these final questions. Joseph, you ready?
I hope so, yeah.
All right. The next question is, do we have an affiliate program?
Yes, so there is. Just make sure to contact support at Mudstack if you have any specific questions related to that. We'll make sure to reach out to you and talk through those processes.
All right. We also got a question about receiving alerts. Is it going to be possible for us to get alerts when uploads complete? Something that people can reference or check later.
Yes, so I'm going to combine a few different things in this answer. So there's a few parts to notifications that we definitely want to clean up. One of them being just basic notifications on completion of uploads or completion of downloads. Making sure we're sending these to different locations within the native OS notification system and internally in our notification system, and separately for people that need to look at from like a business or perspective, the ability to see who downloaded what and when did they download. So more of an audit log. All of those things we definitely want to take into account. Some of these are in various forms of either being in progress or still in the planning stages for moving over to development.
Great. So basically, there's a lot that we're currently working on that we're hoping to bring in later.
Yes, the notification part is something that we're going to be bringing on in the beta. So the audit log would probably be a little bit later, but the being able to get notifications on success or failure of uploads, success or failure of downloads, things like that, and making sure they're available either in the Windows notification or Mac OS notification systems as well. So even if you're outside of the app and you've like uploaded 1,000 assets, you'll be getting those notifications for those.
Awesome. Okay, great. Someone else asked, just out of curiosity, what cloud storage system do we use?
Yep. So we're on a AWS system. So we're using S3 for our storage, which allows for really quick access to the files and quick readability as well.
Okay. Well, that's it for the questions that I see in Ask Mudstack right now. So I'd love to open up the floor. Either Anthony or Kel, do either of you have any questions that you want answered?
Yeah, I have one.
Right.
I was wondering if there was any planned like integration with like Bitstack or GitHub or anything like that. I know like Mudstack is focused on like maintaining art assets, and that's what I use it for. But I know some people that I showed it to were talking about wanting maybe like some sort of integration with those systems as well, if there was like a bridge or anything like that.
Yeah, so something that is on our roadmap for this year is a GitHub integration. Bitstack, however, I don't know if that's actually on our feature requests list. So if somebody that one of your friends was looking at that, they can send that over and drop that in the feature request so that we can keep an eye on it as well. It's that whenever things come in, the product team automatically like starts researching it, no matter how many votes they get. So it's good to have that type of stuff listed up there. And of course, there's a lot of different version control systems out there that we're either not as aware of with things like Bitstack or they're like offshoots of Git in that regard too. So GitHub is definitely something that we're focusing on, as well as Perforce, and then from there, any other types of Git-based version control systems.
Awesome. Thank you. Phase 2 of the beta is when there'd be the local file storage, right?
Yes. Yep. So what we'll essentially be doing is, you'll be going to your Mudstack app and adding local directories into Mudstack. You'll have two separate sections visible on the left sidebar. So you'll see like your local files, and then you'll see cloud files down below. And for those local files, you can search against them. It's essentially like a database at that point, where you can tag and assign your local files into a library. But those are going to be separate from your cloud tags and libraries.
Perfect. And then I don't know if it's possible with Maya files, like the Maya ASCII, the .ma files. Is it possible, or would it be possible, like later down the road, to add those to the viewer option? Because I know it supports FBX, and I think it was stated that Blender would be later. But I was just wondering about MA, because we use .ma at work as well as FBX. Not a big deal, if not possible or anything like that. But I was just curious.
Yeah. So MA is something I know one of the graphics programmer is looking into. So it's MA and Blender files. So those were the two primary ones that we are looking into integrating past FBX and OBJ.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and a few other ones we were looking into. This might be a little bit later down the road as Substance Painter files. Or just the some of the Substance Designer files as well. So
that'd be great.
Yeah, I know on my end, like for my internal purposes, like working on my own portfolio work and things like that, those would be definitely very helpful too. So that's why I'm pushing them to it.
Well, I vote for Substance. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. So there's actually a few questions, and this is something just to look at from the bug board, Lila. So,
good.
In bug reports, something that we've started to notice is specifically on on like rigged characters. There's a few different times when certain characters have either multiple skins on a specific mesh where our system has some difficulty understanding which rig or how those bones actually get weighted to those specific joints and things like that during animation. That's something we are actively looking into right now. So I think you'll see a few different posts on that in bug reports. And this also points into what Kel brought before. I think this is last week or the week before, related to how specific keyframes interpolate between each other. So, of course, with Maya, you have like your graph editor where you can control the speed at which a curve happens or a curve occurs between each keyframe. What's happening with our system right now is it's defaulting its interpolation instead of grabbing it from the keyframe data within the FBX. So that's something we're actively looking into as well.
This is all great information. Are there any other pieces from bug reports or any other notes that you want to touch upon?
Yeah, so file relationships. So the idea of 3D meshes having textures that are applied to them. We know FBXs have linked textures directly in them as well. That some of this information right now isn't directly translatable to our viewer currently. So it's something that we're looking into we're like very, very early stages on the relationship system side. But the main goal for any type of relationship system where you're applying textures to models inside of our system, we want to make sure that's not something that's very difficult for you to do, and something that we want to try to minimize you doubling up work, since you would be doing that same type of work inside Unity or Unreal or things like that.
Yeah, I would imagine not wanting to double up work. What was that?
I just saw what Any Respawn said on folder colors and nested folders. So nested folders, it is like this is something that we will be doing for the cloud before beta closes out. So that is, or like bringing over folder directories over into desktop app, or sorry, into the cloud specifically. And then folder colors, I saw that you were the one that actually posted that on in the feedback area. I remember. So this, I want to say, we were looking into that. I think a follow-up question, which would be good for you to respond on, it is setting up the filter system to actually look at not only just folder colors but things like tag colors as well. Would that be helpful too?
I actually never considered filtering through tag colors. That's actually pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I think for me personally, filtering through folder colors would be more beneficial, but I know probably some people that are really into organization and stuff like that might actually like the filter by tag color.
Mm-hmm. Or tagging folders and going down that route too. That might help out.
Yeah.
But
Tagging folders would,
Yeah. So when you do the folder colors, are you setting the icons inside or if you're using like Windows?
What do you mean? I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. If I recall, I think you were talking about you set your own folder colors for your own organization, right?
Oh yeah, just like for like my 3D models, I just use like a generic like icon file, and I change that folder icon just so
nice.
I know when I go to like see models, I know exactly where it's at just by the goofy little icon.
Oh, perfect.
Stuff like that helps me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that type of stuff. That's any type of organizational improvements, things like that, we're always open to. So whether it's on the tag side or on the folder color side. Yeah, so thank you for bringing that up. So I realized that I've actually done the folder icon thing too before for substance files. I actually made my own little icon for that.
Awesome. Yeah, like when I do like my photogrammetry folder is literally just like an icon of like a camera, just so I know that's my photogrammetry stuff. I don't know. Just little things like that help me.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. This is great. I'm so glad to hear some real time feedback and questions that we can tackle. So for Kel and Anthony, since this is your first time at a Q&A session, I in the future will also be able to do things like screen share or share feedback in different ways. So if you have like complex questions in the future, this is a great place to stop by so that you can have those questions answered in detailed.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, going off on another tangent.
Oh my God, please.
Like one of the first things I tried when opening Mudstacks, even on the cloud and on the desktop app, I immediately tried to use right click for everything.
Yep.
Like right click new library, right click like move to, like stuff like that. I think something like that would be good.
It's coming in phase 2. So
perfect.
Sorry. No, it's great. No, this is a lot of there's going to be some workflow improvements that we definitely are going to not fully capture yet when it comes to like each of the individual phases. What we're going to do at the end of the desktop beta is wipe through all of the other workflow things. So if you ever, I'll give a good example of this. For phase 2, we're probably not going to have a move to action directly in our platform yet. just because you can still do it directly in Explorer. What we'll circle around back to in like before we close out desktop beta is something like that. But the right click functionality, that'll be available. So when you right click in those later phases, you'll have things like move to.
Awesome.
Yeah, but right click was like that's something that's it's going to be in phase 2. You'll have the ability to do things like upload or download via right click. You'll have the ability to bulk delete via right click or things like that as well. Or bulk tag and add to libraries as well.
Yeah, that'd be perfect.
Can I ask, Anthony, can I ask you and maybe even Kel, do you all use keyboard shortcuts at all? Or is that something that's valuable or not? Or is it just right click by itself?
Me, when I'm like in normal like desktop like environments, like browsing the web or like Word or anything like that, like I use right click almost exclusively unless I'm copying and pasting.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But like Substance, Maya, you have to use hotkey.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, just normal desktop modes. Like I'm a right click boy.
Yeah, it's something we've mocked up, but whether the return on investment would be there is, I don't think, clear at this point. Whether we should focus on hotkeys. I think getting the right click menus working first is clearly much more important.
Yeah, and for like on my end, and you're probably exactly the same. Like Maya, I know basically every hotkey like the back of my hand, or I've customized the hotkeys to make them a lot easier for me. Same thing with Photoshop. I can't really do that as much, but Photoshop, I still know like the majority of those hotkeys. When I'm in folder things, it's a little bit less common that I would use those hotkeys. But for things like using Chrome or something like that, like Control T to create new tabs or Control N to create new windows, there's like some basic ones that I would use a lot, and then all the other ones that they have, I'd probably never use. I'm imagining that's probably pretty much the same for you.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Or F5 to refresh.
Yeah. The common one over here, the F12 to look at the developer tools.
Yep.
Yeah. I think so. Just to get a kind of a fun little thing here.
Yeah.
Something that I know Nachi's done in the past, and just getting some some feedback from y'all. Whenever we go through some new features and we're thinking about like getting some feedback there, Nachi or I might post like some mock-ups or a specific flow that we're thinking about doing. Is that something that you guys would be open to? I think you might actually have been part of that indie respawn. So when Nachi did it previously. So
oh yeah.
Yeah. So we definitely want to keep on maintaining that because all the feedback that we've been getting this past month has been absolutely crazy in terms of things that we were not anticipating. It's like, oh yeah, that's the smartest idea. We should have done that like 3 months ago. Types of things. So
Isn't that always the case?
oh yeah.
You get started on something and you're like, this is a great idea. Then you hear feedback and you're like, actually, I should have done it differently.
Yeah.
From the get-go.
Especially like when it's new users that haven't seen the software or ever really had eyes on it, and then taking feedback from like their first experiences.
Yeah,
from
absolutely.
like a testing perspective is really important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's what we do at work. Like when we get like the first year doctors coming in, and then they try like our simulations. Like it's like, oh, I wish I could. It's like, oh shit, we should have done that. Like, oh, we should have worked on that a little bit more, whatnot. I totally.
Yeah,
Actually, like a small shout out to you, to be honest, because we've been really grateful for the feedback that you've been giving to Anthony. Like, not sure what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say onboarding is something we know we need to fix because there really isn't an analogous software to Mudstack that people can have a mental model of, okay, I've used Google Drive, so I kind of know how to use Dropbox, or I've used Trello, so I know how to use any other, Kanban board style task management software. With Mudstack, there isn't a clear, Mudstack is like this other software. So how to better onboard new users onto the platform is something I'm personally thinking a lot about, and that I think we'll probably get feedback from the community on too. But when you first start using Mudstack, we probably should guide you through, create a library, add a file to a library, kind of maybe simulate the flow that someone using Mudstack might want to do, assuming they want to organize their assets better, and kind of handhold through that, some of those core flows early on, so that you know how libraries work, how tags work, how to synchronize stuff up and down when that comes in. I think, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, like, I think one thing that I'll have to give credit where credit is due, Adobe does pretty well, is when you like first load up Illustrator or Lightroom or whatever, it kind of like dims the screen, and then it has icons, and it like has arrows that point, oh, this does this, this does this, and then it's like a little mini tutorial that you can like thumb through, and it kind of guides you, like what you were saying, like this is how you do this, this is how you do
Right.
this.
Yeah.
I kind of like the way they did it, where it's not really intrusive. You could easily back out of it if you want, or just thumb through it. But I just thought it was a neat little way to show people the basics of the software.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good feedback there. Thank you. Kel has a couple of questions.
Yeah.
That it's posting. So Joseph, you could take those.
Okay, awesome. Any chance we'll be able to get blend shape support in animated FBX preview? So the first part we still really need to work on. There's a lot of things that we can improve with the previewer. The first part we're going to work on is getting the basic animation support as smooth as possible, especially with there's so many different ways you can set up a rig. That we want to try and tackle as many of those edge cases to make it a really smooth experience. Blend shapes will be after that, more than likely, or at least once we get to a good level of support for the majority of the different rigs that come in. The other part here is related to desktop beta changes like file support and folder structures be added to the web app as well. Yes, so the folder structures is moving over to the web app, and it'll move over to cloud inside the desktop app. So that is, I think, slated sometime in the June-July range. So we'll have that capability there. Whenever you download files, once we get that folder structure in, those folder structures come along with it. So let's say a file is under like models, faction A, and then the FBX is there. If you sync that file, when it comes down, it will come down to your local drive as that specific folder structure as well. Is web app expected to be continually supported or eventually replaced? So the way that our web app works and the way that our application works, they're basically built on the same base platform. And whenever we push things to desktop, we're actually working on the web app first, and then it moves to desktop app. So the majority of functionality that will be on the desktop app is available on the web app, excluding the ability to look at local files. So the things that would be lost are things like sync, but you would still have all the version control stuff on the cloud, all the user management that's from the cloud, all creating workspaces, all of that stuff. And the UI will remain essentially identical as well. Will notification alerts, e.g. upload completes, be available within the app too? So this is, yes. So there's a big notification pass that we'll be doing with desktop beta. And a lot of those things, like I've listed out like probably like 60 or so different notifications that we still need to work on. Those types of things will be addressed towards the end of the desktop beta. We're going to get through the major functionality first and the major notifications that you need to be able to use the platform. Then we'll go back through and cycle through some of those. Will there be an API or a Python scripting we can use to make Mudstack bridges? So this is, Nachi is saying you're talking plugins. This is something we are looking into, but it'll be a little bit further down the line. There's an API part that's a lot earlier, but the Python scripting part might be a little bit later. We have an API to talk to the cloud portion of our platform, and that's how we use that API internally to do that. So we'll make sure to expose some of those so that you can use that same type of functionality for whatever you need it for. Yeah.
Looks like we're waiting on one more.
Yep.
Heart react a couple of people. I'm loving all these questions coming in.
Yeah, something that as our platform grows out more and as we get a bigger community, something that I know I liked some of our other like applications we use a lot, Maya or Substance or things like that, have kind of a spot where you can share some of those scripts for things like send a Mudstack from Blender or a lot of that stuff. We always know Blender has new versions and they may change how the scripting works to actually pull that stuff up. So we want to make sure there's a space to address things like that, either within our app or from the website too.
As our project is getting larger, we're noticing speed issues. Is this something related to location, the location being Europe, or platform scale? And could it be eased over time or something that maybe requires more local files or local file workflows?
Yep. So the main parts to the speed issues is related to actually some of the image loading that happens in our platform. We're going to circle back around to improving those towards the end of the beta. So that's one major problem with loading assets in our platform right now is when you're loading those assets, loading the actual search set is actually pretty quick, but when it's going through and trying to load the images, it's having to go through individual API calls right now, and it takes a while to load some of that stuff up. On the downloading side, the download is like because you're accessing Amazon servers, they shouldn't have any like speed limiting issues in terms of like network speed to download or upload. So the main pieces here are going to be related to the responsiveness within the app, not necessarily responsiveness with the servers itself.
Joseph, do you know how when we do have local files in the desktop app, how that would impact performance?
Yeah, so when you're doing those calls to collect information over network versus over your desktop drives, your desktop drives are significantly faster. So whether we're generating previews and you're pulling down those previews or going through the searching processes, where it's kind of like building a little mini database on your side so that we can store all the tags and libraries. So that search should actually be significantly faster than what's actually on the cloud.
Right. For us, it's definitely a challenge, Kel, do we, optimize the cloud experience knowing that the more common workflow is going to be artists spending time on their local files and syncing selectively when it makes sense. And that local experience we know is just going to be a lot faster. But yes, like Joseph said, towards the end of the beta, we kind of, prioritize these sorts of performance improvements because getting the local to cloud sync working is going to be a lot more valuable than focusing on, improving the performance of the web app.
Yep, and there's a lot of other things we can think about on the loading side for going through like searches and filters for when accessing cloud data, whether it's like viewing without thumbnails. So that is really fast. That should be significantly faster because you're not having to go through those secondary API calls to load up thumbnails and or other processes like that where we're reducing the size of the images for the thumbnails and other things like that. We haven't necessarily gone through those processes yet. So the first goal is to build it right. Then building it fast is up next.
Would there be an option for web app to disable the thumbnails? He's saying because that would probably still be fine. I find that by having them, the team is using it like a file browser and getting somewhat frustrated before we get to the SCM parts of my team.
That's one of the thought processes that we're still exploring. It's us tackling that is probably going to be a little bit later. It'll still be in the beta cycle before we actually go live, so it'll be within like the June, July, August timeframe. So having like a list view that doesn't include thumbnails, essentially. So you can have some basic file detail information, whether it's file type or file size or things like that along with it, but not having the thumbnails so that the search is a lot faster. So that's it's either going to be something around those lines or and it's still something we're talking with our backend team about, either something along those lines or something along embedding the image capture or like where the thumbnails are actually getting pulled from, embedding those directly in the search results themselves rather than having it as a separate call.
What about you,
That's
Joseph?
about it. Yeah. So as always, you can drop in these questions at any time during the week. We'll try and answer them then, and then whenever we go back through some of these Q&A sessions, we'll do a little audio recap, and you have the chance to speak to us as well and ask questions in real time. So thank you so much for hopping in.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
We'll wrap it up. Yeah, it's so great to hear your voice. Like Joseph said, if you have any additional questions, we're here. This won't be the final Q&A session either. Our plan is to hopefully have one the week after each new launch within our beta. So we'll hopefully talk to you again soon.
Yeah, and I think we actually have a meeting on
perfect.
the 2nd with you guys in my work. So.
Oh, excellent.
Yes, we're meeting with your team next week. So, I don't know that you've actually seen a full demo of the desktop app. Probably not, because we only show those to people on calls. And I know I haven't had a call with you yet, Anthony. So we can show the full demo, and then that can set better context on where things are and how the phase is going to make sense based on the demo that you'll see.
Yeah, can't wait.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you all so much for coming. I think we'll wrap it up here. Joseph, do you have any final remarks? Anything else you want to say?
Other than another thank you? Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty much mostly thank yous.
Yeah. I think that's it. So appreciate your time, and we will see you sometime in May.
Yeah. See you in May. Bye, everyone.